Hi everyone, we are Júlia Lamounier, Aline Trajano, Gabriela Júlia Wichel, Nicole Vasconcelos, and Pedro Xavier, and we are here to talk about psychoanalysis. Sigmund Freud was the founder of the approach and one of the best-known psychoanalysts. Psychoanalysis is a clinical and theoretical branch that explains the workings of the human mind, helping to treat the mental disorders and neuroses, such as depression and anxiety. Although his ideas have influenced from artistic movements to very important social movements, and have found some support in the area of psychoquantum, correlating with the concepts of superposition. The ideas that reality happens depend on how we see or represent its mind, and therefore a relationship with our subconscious would be so important. The debate about its relationship with science has grown more and more.
The most notable problem with Freud's work in this regard is that it is not guided by the scientific method, with experiments to confirm or rule out hypotheses. In his defense, it is quite difficult to present experiences in psychology, and in his time there weren't many of the tools we use today. But another problem arises. When these techniques became available, most of their claims were not confirmed by them. Furthermore, most of his followers did not try to make a critical analysis of his work, but widened the gap between psychoanalysis and the scientific method even further. Another point is the way in which for Freud everything depended on desires and emotions, many of them subconscious and repressed, which is not necessarily correct. The brain is also a physical organ, so many of the phenomena that Freud interpreted as derived from the subconscious actually have an interpretation in their own functioning. Take a good look. Behind the depression, an addiction, or a bipolar disorder, there is not necessarily a childhood feeling or trauma, but a potential problem in the synthesis of neurotransmitters or excess of them, chemical messengers produced by our brain. There are countless chemicals, countless neurotransmitters, each with its specific function, and their good working together is what allows the brain to work well. Some well-known examples are serotonin, associated with mood regulation and to well-being, endorphin, related to the reward process, and dopamine, that modulates the sensation of pleasure. In this way, understanding physiology allows us to develop a medication to normalize brain chemistry, which will bring results faster than endless therapy sessions. A more pragmatic question also enters here. After all, psychoanalytic therapy, especially in the long run, does it work? To answer this, we resorted to searching meta-analysis, a statistical technique that aims to integrate the results of different research on the same topic. As a rule, the more studies a meta-analysis takes into account, the greater the relevance of its result. However, one meta-analytic research cannot take into account studies that contain some methodological flaw, otherwise the results produced will be compromised. There are meta-analyses that point to the long-term success of clinical psychoanalysis, while other research denies its effectiveness. However, studies that propose the success of psychoanalysis in this context are methodologically problematic and therefore unreliable. Such problems do not seem to be repeated in research that concludes that long-term psychotherapy has no real effects, which suggests more reliability to this conclusion.
So, after the detailed study, it's possible to realize that psychoanalysis is a pseudoscience, because it's refutable and subjective. It's not based on verified facts in the psycho world and has no proven effectiveness in examinations. Despite this, it's a form of the treatment that has already shown efficiency and is proved to be valid in several cases.